Hi and welcome. Today we're going to be doing an intro tutorial to Scalar 2. And today we are, the 4th of July. So happy holidays in America, 4th of July 2023. And today the most current version is version 2.8. Now if you have version 2, everything that, 0.1, 0.2, etc. is basically a free update. But if you have version 1 of Scalar, to go to version 2, you need to pay for a little update. And it's not too much, but it's something you've got to pay for. It's something to think about. So let's get started straight away. So I'm going to go into Ableton. So basically this is a demo in Ableton because that's the DAW that I use, but it will pretty much work the same way in most DAWs. I just type in Scalar here and it's a VST free plugin. You've got two options, Scalar 2, Scalar Audio 2, but we just tend to use Scalar 2 and we're just going to drag that into a MIDI track. And it will come up. And the first thing you'll see is how massive it is. If you want to resize it, you just go into the settings here and pretty happy with the size here. We could make it smaller, but we'll just go back to how it was before. And basically, let's just talk about the interface pretty quickly. What you need to do is look at this in terms of horizon events. So for example, this horizon event here is just basically showing you a keyboard, the different modes, the performance modes, and the different types of humanizations and groupings of the performance mode. On the left-hand side, you've got instruments and you've got some functions here, which we'll talk about in a second. You have the detect mode there, and on the bottom, you've got patterns. So we're just going to quickly go through that in this tutorial, and it is super easy. So let's just start with detect mode. Now in Ableton, you've just got to make sure you have your keyboard or MIDI mode on. I'm playing a keys on my laptop, but you can have a MIDI controller in to play a chord. So when you play a chord, I'm just going to play something on my keyboard now. Straight away up here, it shows you the notes that you're playing, and it even tells you the chord. So that's really handy. So if you're not even sure what chord you're playing, you can just see it there, right? Super useful. Okay, but if you want to now record it into Scalar, and what I mean is like print it into Scalar, just press this record button here and we'll just play separate chords. So we'll play this chord here. So there it is, it's printed that. I'm going to just play just something very random and another random chord and another one. Okay, so I've just printed using detect mode random chords into Scalar, and we're just going to unplug the record button. So what we can do now is we could just trash it. By the way, it says source MIDI. You can actually play an audio file and use that as a source, or we can play those chords. Let's just play them now. Okay, it's just going to play them once, right? And the speed that they play them at and the way they're played at is once again set in the preferences. So you can just play those chords as I've just shown you by pressing the play button. And the other thing you could do now is you can click on bind to MIDI. So what that does now is if I just click on this section here, bind to MIDI, every time I play a MIDI note on my keyboard, it will play one of these notes. Okay, so I'm playing here, it's too high. You can see the range that it's set at. It's too high, so I just need to go down an octave. Okay, so now I've gone down an octave. Now I can start playing live music just with those chords. So if you have 3 or 4 chords that you really like and you want to play them live, you can just set them up this way and you can just save this and you can just bring this back up whenever you want. So that's a pretty useful thing for, say performance. The whole concept of binding is apparent throughout. So for example, you can bind in this section. You can see here, this is section B. This binds to MIDI, and you can also bind in the pattern section below, which we'll demonstrate later. And you can even expand the pattern section and bind multiple sections of the pattern section. Now I'm going to just delete these. Okay, so it just brings you back to your default screen. So that's detect mode. Now, the next thing I wanted to show you was scale mode. Now, scale mode is literally somebody, you choosing a scale. So if you really want to hear what F minor sounds like, you just play this like that, and it plays the actual scale. Okay, and then you can actually hear F minor here just below. So it's playing all of the notes in the F minor scale and then all of the related chords to those notes in F minor scale. So all of these notes here in these chords are in F minor. And that's why you'll see a little blue bar at the top. If there are notes that are different or missing, the bar at the top will be grey. And if there are no notes in F minor, but the scale's still showing here, the bar will be black. And we'll see more of that in a second. So that's F minor scale. And what's really cool about scalar is it actually tells you the style. And what I mean by style is like what this feels like, what this chord feels like. And if you're trying to make a certain type of song, serious, sad, emotional, sentimental, you might want to use F minor. It shows you the scale notes there. And so we want to go to a different mode here. It will just consistently show you the different styles. This is harmonic major scale. Once you click on it, it will just give you all of the chords per note on the scale. And you can just change the octaves. You can make it higher, lower. Let's make it lower here. And we just press play and just play them all. Let's play it higher, an octave. Okay, so it's heroic, mysterious, majestic. And if you right click on this play button, it says autoplay is on. So what that's going to do is just going to play through those chords and then start again at the beginning and replay them. So you can keep listening to this forever to give you a feel as to, you know, what sort of sound you want. And also what's happening is you can actually see every note that's played on the keyboard. So if you've got a keyboard next to you, you can actually do some analysis and say, okay, well, I need to play these notes to be in this key, right? So it's pretty useful in lots of respects. Now, you can actually now go in and start changing some of the configuration of the chords. So for example, we can change them to sevenths. We can change them to ninths or to 13ths. And we can even change the voicings. Just change the voicing 2. Now it's just going to take it back to harmonic major, but voicing 2. And what voicing does is it gives you a different voicing option. So it might play, you can just see here, when we play F, it will play a lower F note, G, a lower G note. So if you did voicing 1, that G note would be just in a different position. Let's go to voicing 7. So it's the same chord. Voicing, it just gives you different feel to the chords. And then you've got additional elements, so 6 and 7ths. And then you can just use these chords as you feel necessary in a song just to give you the feel that you need. And then if we just go back to voicing 1 and we go to variations, but if you really have a look at them, it says F, G, A, B flat. That's basically copying the notes that you see here, F, G, A, B flat, C. And it's just saying that in tonic, you just play every note in F. So you get these different variations of the F within the tonic, right? So you've got all the different variations in this scale because you know it's in the scale because you can see this blue bar at the top. So if you want to go mediant, it'll give you all of the notes in that scale, but starting with mediant A and then dominant C. So there's a lot of options there, but all you need to know is that these chords kind of go together and give you a specific feel. Once you have the chords that you want to work with, then you can bind that to a keyboard, make sure that your keyboard's playing in this area here, this dark area. And I can just play all of the chords that are suggested in that scale. When you play those chords, you're going to get a heroic sound or a mysterious sound. Let's try to get a sound. So this is the sound bank here that might go well with that style. Let's try Celestial Existence. So that's it for scales, and we're going to just move on to the next thing, which is songs. So what songs is, it's just another way of saying genres, really. It's a genre. So you see all of these different genres of chords. You can start with 70s funk and soul, and we're just going to go back to that piano sound. We'll just go for vintage keys sound here. So all of these chords will basically go together and allow you to create a 70s funk and soul song. So let's just take a quick listen. Now we're going to bind this to keyboard, and we're going to take try to be creative and create something from this. So let's just do that. So within that genre, you'll have all these different variations or basically different chords, but within the same genre. Let's keep going. We'll just keep looking at a few more different ones. And then you've got this one right at the top. I actually forgot about this one. This is quite a useful one called common progressions. So these are very common chord progressions that you can use in pretty much any sort of situation. So for example, if you want a ballad triad combination, you've got 4 simple chords that you could use. Okay, so it's not just these fancy genres that you can get these really cool chord progressions. So for example, let's go with pop, and we'll go with something called colored. Really nice. Finally, there's another one called artists. These are common chord progressions for these artists. For example, we'll just randomly choose this one. So these chords are kind of linked to this artist. Now, I don't use this as much, but there are a couple that are notable ones that I like. So I like MJ Cole's chords. I think they're good. So let's just play them with a keyboard. And there's another one also I liked. I think it was CC Rogers. Really like those chords and the way they go together. They're so complex. They're not something I would be able to write myself. Too complex for me, but useful chords that you could use, in a really cool sounding sort of jazzy, funky sort of sound. And you have to kind of open your mind a bit because you want to try different sounds. And we're going to go through that in a second. And then finally, there's user settings. So you might want to save your chords. So for example, we're just going to take these chords and drag them down into this pattern. We can just save them here. We'll just call it my chords. Just go to user, select my chords, and there they are. I want to show you very quickly the pattern mode. Now you can see here already I've put some chords in here. But the other thing I could do is I can maybe just change them around. So I've just swapped the position of them. Just swap this position here. I can take this one here and I can delete it by clicking remove. So it just brings the other 2 chords back up. Obviously I can play the chords. Let me just delete a couple more. So I'm going to just select 3 chords and just press the delete button. So we've only got 4 chords here. Okay, and I can right click on that and you've got DAW sync on. What that means is however you start your DAW, like I usually start that with my space button, it'll sync. So you can see here, because the loop button's on, it's just looping it. There's a rest in there, so I can add a rest just by clicking on the plus button. And then I can maybe add another chord in here. So I can literally go back to the main area and just drop any chord that I want into this section. I can delete anything I want. I can delete a rest, delete another rest. Now the other thing you could do with pattern mode is that you can expand it out. So you can just click on this little square button here. So you can rename this first pattern. So I can, I'm going to double click on it and just call it test 1. And then I can duplicate that. So just right click and duplicate. So this is just a way kind of to, let's just delete all of this stuff here. This is just a kind of a way to try different things. So we can, so for example, we could try, let's just bring this down a bit. We try to bring a brand new chord there to replace that chord there. And we'll just go back to this pattern here. And we can just call this, double click on that, we'll call it test 2. So it's the same as this one, but it's just a different test. We'll just click on the looping button. Now, if you remember before, I said there's like a blue bar because the chord's being played. If we go back to the top here, it's being played in F minor scale, F minor 9th scale, actually, to be precise. But when we go and look at this pattern here, you'll see some gray bars. And this gray bar is saying that there are some notes in here that are not in F minor scale. And that is completely okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a way to see what these chords are. And yeah, you can use as many as you want. You can fill as many as you want. And what's really useful is you can quickly move from one of them to two of them, and you can even just create as many patterns as you want. It's even got a suggest mode that will just suggest. If you keep clicking on it, it will just keep suggesting different chords. I don't find that as useful, but it's there if you need it. You can click on MIDI Capture. So MIDI Capture is really useful as well. So I just clicked on that, and you can see here it's saying stop. And so it's just basically waiting for you to enter something into Scalar. So I'm going to just put a random couple of chords in there. So I'm going to click stop, and now it's going to say drag, ready to drag MIDI out. So we're just going to drag these chords out, and Scalar has detected the chords. We just play them back. And you can see here above. Now, the last thing I want to show you is performance mode. So let's just now go back to genres, and we'll just select deep house. We're just going to select deep house set of chords. So I've got autoplay on, so it's just going to loop through these. So we're going to click on the perform mode. And now you've got all of these performances going on. So we've got the basic common performances. We can just keep going through them. Now we can change the speed of them now. We can make them half speed. Now we can use any of these other different types of expressions. So we'll go to avant-garde. Avant-garde's really cool. So you've got lots of choices there. Now we're going to click MIDI Capture. It's going to capture what's played. Now let's just stop that now. And drag this baby to here. So it's not perfect, but it is playing all of the chords, all of the notes within those scales that we chose. So what we have is these different types of performance modes. So I like strumming quite a bit. So let's just click on strumming. So when you have strumming on, it will just strum basically like a guitar or a piano. And it has different types of strumming and speeds. Let's do a slow one. Now this is really useful because you might have a song and you may have written the chords yourself. Actually, you don't even need Scalar for, the song creation bit, but it can help you add a little bit of ear candy, like things like strumming, to your performance. And that's really useful. Just by bringing those chords back into Scalar, it'll do the strumming. And it has different ways to do the strumming. So up and down. So we'll just click on down. Hear what that sounds like. Up. And random. So in addition, you have arpeggio. Arpeggio is pretty common. So we'll just go up and down. So this is a common arpeggiator. It's got basically really common sorts of arpeggiators, really. And we'll go further down. It's got phrases. So we'll just hear what phrases are like. There's quite a lot here. We'll just start with a basic phrase. So this is like a chord with a few notes being played together. Very nice. And then we have rhythms. So we've got all these different rhythm options. We'll just start with this castrato one. This is a really useful one actually, especially for dance music. Okay, so in addition to rhythms, you've got bass, melody, sequence, and strummed sequences. Let's try strummed sequences. For me, what's really cool is bass. I really like bass. Let's just select a bass guitar sound. Okay, so we'll just go to chord again. We'll make it a bit faster. And we'll just try house bass. Let's make it a bit slower. So it's just, the key is experimenting. If you're not happy with the sounds, some of them are pretty good. You could just, obviously, you can just take any of this media and just use your own sounds. You can just use any VST or Ableton synth that you need to. It doesn't need to be a scalar sound. The scalar sounds are really just to give you an idea of how they could sound. Okay, and that's pretty much it in performance mode. We're going to switch performance mode off. Then we've got a couple of options here, and these are the last things I'll be talking about basically. So we've got voice grouping. So we've got all of these different voice grouping options. So we'll just start with normal dynamic, but let's try open voicing. Let's just move to something else and drop for voicing. Let's actually use a keyboard for this. Okay, so that's pretty useful. And then we've got humanize, and humanize, you've got the velocity and timing. So what that means by velocity is just how hard you press the keyboard, and it will just humanize it, kind of slightly randomizing it. So for example, we just click, and this is per note. So it could be in the chord, one of the notes could be played louder than another. Just makes it more human, I guess. And then we've got timing. So you don't have perfect timing. One note might be coming in before another on the chord. And then you've got both, which actually is pretty cool. Using both is probably the most human way of doing things. And then you've got quantization options and loads of swing options. And that's it for the intro of Scalar. And that is simply an intro. There's so much more to Scalar. Yeah, I mean, I could keep going on here, but basically, I think I've given you enough to get started. And actually, there's one key thing, very intro thing that I've completely forgotten to tell you. But if there's a chord that you like, you can just simply drag it into your DAW, and there it is. So in addition to all this, within pattern mode, and this is another advanced topic that we'll be talking about soon, is in edit mode, you have voice chordings, you have chord voicings, playback timings, and playback performances. So within the patterns, you can try all sorts of different things and bring those into your DAW. So I really hope this helped. I've really enjoyed giving this tutorial to you because I think it's such a cool software system. Now, just the last thing I wanted to say is if you don't own Scalar and you like Scalar, I have a link below, which is an affiliate link. So it means I get just a very small percentage if you do buy it. So if you do want to buy it and you want to support me, I would appreciate if you click on that link. You don't have to, but that link will definitely help me. If you guys have got any ideas or any questions about things you want to learn, put those in the comments and I'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks a lot.